Fashion designer Riccardo Tisci accused of drugging and sexually assaulting New York restaurant goer. When I heard this story, it immediately reminded me of the Alexander Wang allegations from a couple of years ago, maybe a few years ago, when he was basically accused of, if I'm not mistaken, spiking guys' drinks with like care allegedly, or what was it? Maybe it was GHB or something, and then taking advantage of them. I'm not too sure how that ended. I think he might have settled out of court with that, but for whatever reason, it didn't really stop or hamper his career, which was really interesting. He seemed to kind of get back to doing things, presenting shows like nothing happened. He still got his show displayed on Vogue.com and shit. So it's pretty wild that Ye was super well, basically went on his anti-Semite tour and also wore a red hat, so that Vogue.com decided to remove his picture. Remember when Ye walked the Balenciaga show? He walked that one Balenciaga show. I thought it was a mud show, and they removed his image from the Vogue runway review of Balenciaga show. But for whatever reason, Alexander Wang can settle out of court for sexually assaulting people, but he still has his collections displayed, his namesake brand, on Vogue.com, which is interesting. But hey, who knows? So let's read a bit of the story, and then I'm going to go through the actual court documents as well to read in detail what actually happened, because this is pretty wild, but also not surprising, because I feel like this has been like, if you've been paying attention to fashion Twitter, I feel like you would have seen this coming, because I felt like over the last 18 months, I've seen a lot of conversation about Riccardo Tisci, former Givenchy designer and all-round fucking, legend out here, on the timeline talking about his tendencies or his proclivity or his likeness for black gay guys. Not sure if you've seen it. If you're in a timeline, maybe it's just my timeline, but I think over the last 18 months, I've seen a lot of people talking about how they've seen Riccardo Tisci pop up like at certain spots around the world, especially in America, where a lot of like black gay guys go to party and shit. And it's the type of place that you only go to if you know Wagwan. Like, it's not baked places, right? Which is kind of, weird in itself, because you're kind of fetishizing certain people. But I also saw a lot of people saying, oh, that's pretty cool that he's like, he's gay himself, but he goes and touches the people. He's actually going to the real places. He's not just going to the bait pride events here and there or the bait gay clubs. He's going to the actual quote unquote hoods. And I remember one in particular case story was when he went to this place. I'm not sure if it's DC, but there's a particular gay pride celebration. Maybe it's DC, maybe it's somewhere else, where allegedly all of the gay black guys go to. It's like the mecca that they go to every single year. And allegedly he's always there every single year also. And also think back to that time when Riccardo Tisci had that interesting little love affair with Frank Ocean, allegedly, during the Oscars one time. So yeah, whatever, So I feel like for every reason, this story's been rumbling for a while, because out of nowhere, people start talking about, Riccardo Tisci's preferences and what he's into and stuff. And then, roll on 18 months later, an allegation comes up that he's drugging and sexually assaulting people. Now, those two things aren't related, right? You can be into gay black guys. Black guys could be your thing if you're gay, and you could also not be a sexual assaulter. But it's interesting how, for whatever reason, that appeared in the timeline as a thing, and now all of a sudden we've got this story. So anyway, let's go through it, courtesy of The Independent, and then we'll read through the actual court document itself. So it says here, a New York man claims iconic fashion designer Riccardo Tisci drugged his drink while out at an East Harlem restaurant, after which he woke up in the former Givenchy creator's multi-million-dollar townhouse naked without any idea how he got there. Oh my God. Okay, that's bad. I don't know about you, but that's kind of bad. And I'm wondering if this story may have fucked up his chances of getting whatever job he's meant to get. I don't think it was Dior, because now obviously JW is at Dior, but there was a rumor that he was going to go to another big house, another big luxury brand. But I'm assuming this type of case might put the brakes on any appointment that was meant to come. I would assume so. But, fashion's a weird place, because, John Galliano got a job, soon after what he said. So who knows? Alexander Wang is still on Vogue.com, so who fucking knows? In a state lawsuit filed on Tuesday, Patrick Cooper accuses Tisci of sexually assaulting him while he was under the influence and unable to consent, alleging that the 50-year-old dosed him with unknown substances. Yo, big up, Ayumi love.
Sometimes it seems like thing I wish he said was homosexual.
To be fair, do I wish I was homosexual? No, probably not. I don't wish I was homosexual, no. I don't wish I was anything. I wish I was myself. Why would I wish I was something I'm not? But I do wish I had more gay friends. That's what I wish for. I wish I had more gay friends. I wish gay guys liked me more. If anything, I feel like I get. I feel like I would do well in a group of lesbian. Like I feel like lesbian girls would probably be my friend. I feel like lesbian girls would probably give me more of a chance to be their friend than gay guys would. For whatever reason, gay guys don't seem to like me too much. And I remember actually big up Kat Barker. Big up my girl Kat fucking Barker. Make sure you fucking check her out. Kat Baker, sorry, Kat Barker. Big up Kat Baker, right? I remember saying that to Kat Baker one time, and she told me, well, duh, look at your timeline. I was like, what do you mean look at my timeline? She's like, you're a bit aggro, you're a bit laddie and shit. I was looking at my timeline, I think it was after the United game, and obviously I was effing and blinding, saying mad shit all the time. Just going, you know me, when United's playing, I'm going crazy, but also just generally what I talk about. So I was thinking, oh, maybe I come across way too, I come across way too straight for a gay guy, you know, with my interest. And they probably would think that I would not be fans of them, maybe. But I am fans of them. I would love them. I would honestly love nothing more than to have way more gay friends. But unfortunately, for whatever reason, the gay guys seem to like, you know, when they see me, they see a walking red flag. They see a toxic male, which I get because of my interests and stuff and the way I speak and how loud I can be and blah, 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 blah. And obviously being into sports and shit, mostly the sports. Maybe it's mostly the sports thing. That's probably the issue. Because I think everything else, I kind of line up with them. You know what I mean? I take care of myself. I like to work out. I like to wear nice clothes and shit. You know what I mean? I get haircuts regularly. You know what I mean? I do all the stuff that they do. You get me? But I think the sports side of things, that toxicity side of shit, the UFC shit, is a little bit too much for them. Maybe. Or just maybe my personality as well. It couldn't just be the sports. Maybe they just look at me and think, you know what? F this guy, which I also get. It is what it is. Big up the stream chat. Big up. It smells like poppers in here. Big up Coiler. I love that. Big up Fashion Roman. Wagwan G. If the rumors was he was going to Gucci, Demna doesn't work. If the rumor was he might go to Gucci if Demna doesn't work. Oh, really? Oh, actually, you know what? I could see that working actually. But again, I don't know. Me personally, I don't actually like. He's never been able to replicate the fucking magic he did at Givenchy anyway, Riccardo Tisci. That stint at Burberry was horrendous. That was so fucking bad. So bad that people forget that he was at fucking Burberry. Like, do you know what I mean? No one speaks about it anymore. But that stint at Burberry was really fucking horrible. So I'm not too sure why he's deserving of that spot, really. That would be a very undeserving appointment if he did get the Gucci job anyway. If this allegation never come out, if Tisci got because what are you basing that appointment on? But I would actually love to say that would be an interesting. I would love someone to do an article on that, or maybe do a deep dive on why that happens, like why designers like Riccardo Tisci aren't able to replicate that sort of like magic, because for whatever reason, that one stint he had at Givenchy, those amazing fucking seasons he had there, the looks, the models, the fucking cultural moments with Ye, all that sort of shit, he has never been able to replicate that success anywhere else. It's been fail after fail after fail after fail. He's kind of lost a bit of his magic. I know some people on the timeline, specifically Luis Pisano, are alleging that a lot of it has to do with him partying, which might also kind of line up with these allegations and the rumors that came on the timeline of him going to all these gay clubs. So maybe his inability to kind of replicate that level he was at Givenchy might have everything to do with his partying, which is interesting in itself, because I think that also goes to show that, you know, no matter what level you're at, if you're distracted and you're not doing what you're meant to be doing, because, you know, you'd imagine being a designer of a house at that level, you've got a lot of assistance, a lot of help, a studio you can kind of work with. But if you're not on the ball, the work's going to suffer. So it's proof that if you take your eye off the ball, it's going to be very obvious that you're taking your eye off the ball. And maybe he needs to kind of get sober again, you know, figure stuff out, stop going out as much, and his work might improve. People said the same thing about Demna, Balenciaga and shit, and how that's ended. But yeah, the Gucci thing would have been a weird appointment, personally, if it was me. But anyway, let's continue. In a lawsuit filed on Tuesday, Patrick Cooper accuses Tisci of sexually assaulting him while he was under the influence and unable to consent, alleging the 50-year-old dosed him with an unknown substance in order to make him so disoriented as to no longer know where he was, what he was doing, or what other people, particularly Tisci, was doing to him. And again, I remember speaking to somebody about this in my personal life. Oh yeah, I spoke to somebody the other day about this, right? I don't know about you guys, but I remember when I was coming up, like we had this thing, like me and my friends in the area, me and my friends in Ends, big up Brian and Claudio. We'd kind of go out every weekend and try and like pick up girls and shit, right? We'd go to like Ilford, we'd go to like Barking, we'd go Dagenham, we'd go to Lakeside and shit, pick up that Lakeside shopping mall back in the day, and we'd just go on a Saturday with our fresh haircuts and our fucking Hackney Market Nike tracksuits and try and pick up girls and get numbers and shit. And even sometimes we go to house raves and whatever it may be, right? Try and bag some baddies, right? Some shorties. But I remember back then when we were doing that a lot, it was never a win. You would never take it as a win if like you ended up, you know, quote unquote, bagging somebody that was drunk or fucked up. If anything, you would go out of your way to make sure that person got home safe. Like we'd all chip in and make sure that girl got a cab home. No one's going to go home with her. Just what's your address, put her in a cab and kind of send her on her way and shit. But there was never any kind of win about doing that sort of shit. And I feel like for whatever reason, in recent years, this kind of like drugging people or this kind of idea that every win is a win, even if the person's inebriated, has become way more accepted. Back in the day, that was never that accepted. It was always kind of looked at, you look at it as a real creeper, as a real weirdo. But I think nowadays, you see a lot of people, especially in certain parts of London, where you see a guy walking down the street with a girl and she's clearly sloppy, like about to fall over, and he's trying to hold her upright to kind of walk her back home so he can kind of do the deed. And it's like, brother, man, she's fucked off her mind. She doesn't even remember her name. Like, put her in her house, you know what I mean? Make sure she's kind of looked after and go home. Like, you don't need to do this, brother. That's not a win. If anything, it makes you look like a creep. But anyway, let's continue. As a result, Cooper 35 was unable to reject, fight, stop, or defend himself from Tisci's predatory, sexual, and unlawful assault and battery, according to the complaint. He told The Independent that he just went out to have a good time. My intentions were never to end up in Riccardo's bed. When I woke up, he was kissing me. Yo! Hey, yo! Hey, yo! Hey, yo! Could you imagine the outcry if this was a black designer? If this was a brown designer? That's the thing. Sometimes you think, I feel like I've not even seen this. I don't think I've even seen this on Vogue.com. I saw in my life, I don't think I've seen this on Vogue.com. Maybe I'm lying. I don't think I've seen this on Vogue.com. I'm not sure about Bins of Fashion, but I'm pretty sure I've not seen this on Vogue.com. But can you imagine if somebody black or brown did this? Can you imagine? Cooper, who described himself as bisexual, said that he headed to the hospital for a rape kit, tested immediately upon leaving Tisci's Lux Soho home. They contacted police to make a report. I remember sipping a drink, and I don't remember anything else, Cooper contended. To this day, I still don't remember anything. Nothing. God almighty. God almighty. Imagine, right? Imagine the horror. Imagine being bi-curious. Imagine being bisexual. And you go out, you end up bumping into Riccardo Tisci, you end up kind of having a bit of a flirt and shit. And then the next thing you know, you wake up in his bed and you're naked and he's on top of your lips and you and shit. Could you imagine the horror? You just want to have a little bit of a flirt. You're not even sure what way you swing. You're still undecided. You're in the middle, right? And then the next thing you end up doing is end up being stark naked in fucking Riccardo Tisci's, loft apartment somewhere. You're like, what the hell is going on? But I've heard of this like spiking thing a lot, especially in the dance music scene that I'm kind of a part of. Some of the stories, like when it comes to spiking as well, it's weird, isn't it? Like, part of me thinks a lot of these spiking, not this guy in particular, but some of the other reports I've seen from people in nightclubs, I wonder if a lot of the spiking is not just people just not knowing how to control their drugs and just going too crazy. You know, like how sometimes when you go out and then you come back home and you check your bank account and you're like, oh shit, you can't believe you spent that much amount of money, right? You can't believe it. You think someone stole your card. It's like, no, you spent that, right? So I think sometimes people get so fucked up, they don't believe they got that fucked up. So the only way to explain it is, oh, my drink got spiked. Because I'm not too sure, because I've heard so many people say they got spiked, but nothing happened. So are there tons of people in clubs spiking people just to watch you get fucked up and not do anything to you? Is that a thing going on? Like they just get like a perverse joy and pleasure out of seeing you stumble and get all sloppy and look like a zombie, but they don't take any advantage of you whatsoever. Is that a thing? Or are you just getting a bit too crazy? And the other thing too, especially people like myself that have been to Berghain and stuff, or these big clubs, people can attest, mandem and geldem that have been to Berghain can attest, the amount of people that go to Berghain and don't take any responsibility for themselves, or don't protect their drinks, or don't, whatever, keep their head on the swivel because it's like a club and they think it's a safe space. It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of people who don't really you know, take any responsibility for their whatever. Leave their drink on the side. Like, imagine, like, there's a side, yeah, there's like a back bit in the burger and the main dance floor. Like, so, you know, I don't know what the capacity of the burger, it might be like 10,000 something. There's a back bit where you can kind of like stand or lean on, and it's got like a little ledge where you can leave your drink. Some people will leave their drink there, go and rave, come back and come and drink it again. Now you have no idea somebody spat in it, pissed in it, like put a booger in it. You have no idea. People will literally leave their drink at the back of the fucking club against the wall, go and rave at the front, and then go back and drink it like nothing's, like everything is good. Like, honestly, people are bizarre. So if you're that person, please don't do that. Please take care of your things. Please, you know, take your drink with you wherever you go, toilets, wherever it may be. Take it fucking with you. It's not that fucking deep. And don't leave it unattended, because there are some people out there that might do some crazy shit. The article continues. Reached by phone, Tisci hung up shortly after being informed what the call was regarding. Reached by phone, Tisci hung up shortly after being informed what the call was regarding. His agent, Ann Nelson of United Talent Agency, told The Independent, "I regret to inform you I cannot comment on the matters related to a pending litigation." Oh my God. It's interesting, by the way, that he's still represented by a UTA. Most people that get accused of this sort of stuff, they get dropped by their agents ASAP. But it's interesting that his agents are still working with him at UTA. Again, when you're white, things are different. But imagine if you're a black person and you're represented by CAA, represented by WME, represented by UTA, and an allegation like this came across your table or came across your inbox. Imagine, you think they'll stand by you? Come on, man. In an email, and look what happened to fucking Young Philly. Look what happened to Young Philly. Lost everything after one allegation. Everything. This guy has not lost anything so far. In an email, an NYPD spokesperson declined to confirm or deny reports of the case, but they said the NYPD takes sexual assault and rape cases extremely seriously, urges anyone who's seen a victim to file a police report so that we can perform comprehensive investigation, offer support and services for the survivors. A native of Apulia, Italy, Tisci has dressed as star. Okay, cool. This is just the background of him, right? Cool. So that's what other. Okay, cool. Have we got any more? Yeah, there we go. Let's see some more details of the case. The alleged assault took place on June 29th, 2024. Wow, so it's recent. Holy shit, it's last year. Wow. When Cooper met Tisci through a mutual friend, according to his complaint, after spending time at a club downtown, Cooper said he and his friend Tisci and another man went to Two Sisters, Four Brothers, a soul food spot. You see what I mean? You see? Two Sisters, Four Brothers, a soul food spot at East 116th Street in New York. So he definitely has a thing for black guys. So I'm assuming this guy's a black guy as well. So there's a black fetishism going on here. Jesus, that the timeline was right about that sort of shit, right? That's where Tisci surreptitiously slipped something into Cooper's drink when he wasn't looking, Cooper complaint alleges. Cooper, who said he's 6'1" and handles his liquor very well, told The Independent that he had only had two or so glasses of wine up until the point and hadn't been feeling drunk at all. However, the complaints continued shortly after Cooper finished his drink at Two Sisters, Four Brothers. He became disorientated, confused, impaired, intoxicated, unaware of his actions and surroundings, and unable to comprehend what was going on. Once the drug took effect, Tisci brought Cooper back to his home, where Tisci prevented Cooper from leaving. Ooh, ho, ho. Dicey, bro. Isn't that like kidnapping as well if you do that, right? Technically, in law. If you stop someone from leaving. Wow. Prevented Cooper from leaving and sexually assaulted in the complaint states. When Cooper woke up, he found himself naked with Tisci also naked next to him. Upon information and belief at the time of the aforementioned sexual assault, Cooper lacked the capacity to consent. Fucking hell. Riccardo Tisci out here doing an absolute madness. Absolute madness. When Cooper came to while at Tisci's Swank King Street pad, which he once shared with artist Marina Abramovic, his throat was so dry he could barely speak, he told The Independent. Okay, I want to see this. What's this? What is Riccardo Tisci's King Street pad? Can I see this? Can we see this King Street pad? I want to see what this pad looks like. Jesus Christ. What an absolute horror. Okay, we can't see that. Riccardo. Let's see. Riccardo Tisci, King Street. Let's see if we can find it on the Google image. I want to see what the place looks like. I'm assuming like high ceilings, beams and shit, exposed brickwork, loads of really cool modern interior, loads of really cool modern furniture and shit. I'm assuming. Do we see the inside of it anywhere? Do we see the inside of it anywhere? Nah. Oh, there we go. We got a little bit of it here, right? Is that there? What's that say? Riccardo Tisci spaces. What's that say over here? Yeah, Tisci's New York for, yeah, there we go. That's a little bit of it there. Oh, it's pretty, it looks pretty swanky, doesn't it? That outside of it looks really nice, I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, okay, cool. A little bit different than what I expected it to look like, but still very beautiful indeed. Let's continue. Completely discombobulated, Cooper said he asked Tisci for a glass of water, who walked, no, completely discombobulated, Cooper said he asked Tisci for a glass of water, who walked away unclothed, then came back wearing a pair of shorts. I was like, how did I get here? I kept saying, how did I get here? I kept asking him, how did I get here? And he's not responding. I'm sorry to laugh, but that is fucking nightmarish, bro. That is legitimately nightmarish. How did I get here? And the guy ain't responding. And you're there stark naked. And you have no idea how you got all your clothes off. Scary shit. We go upstairs. My clothes are there next to the couch. Cooper said he left, unsure of where he was, then called a friend he had been with the night before. He's upset at me, saying, "Why would you leave me? I couldn't find you." Cooper went on as he said he was asking everyone if they knew where I was. I told him I don't remember last night at all. Fucking hell, bro. Fucking hell. To be fair, this I'm not surprised by as well. People that do this sort of shit love to like isolate people. They love to like try and get you alone. That's probably not that it's a bit deep to say this, but I think especially if you're a girl, if you're a guy, if somebody's going out of their way to kind of push for you to meet alone. No, imagine if you're out with friends and then the person that you meet is really being pushy about separating you from the group. That's a bit of a red flag. They should be okay to like let you all hang out. Then if you want to stay after your friends leave, that's one thing. But the person that goes out that like is really pushy, really insistent when you're out together as a group to be like, hey, come back to mine by yourself, just me and you, or keeps pulling you away to corners and keeps pushing you away places, they're usually on the weirdo side. Usually most guys that have game, most guys that know what they're doing are more than okay with the whole group coming back. More than okay, because they know they can play their game, amongst a group of people, solo, whatever, it doesn't fucking matter. And if anything, they want you to feel as comfortable as possible so that when you agree and don't regret it, and you agree and you're completely happy with your decision. You know what I mean? As opposed to being forced into it because you keep getting pulled alone somewhere. But yeah, that's a classic creepo move. Getting somebody alone by themselves to go places. The next day, Cooper said that he called Tisci, who insisted he didn't remember him, and asked for a photo. Oh my God. What a piece of shit. What a piece of shit. Oh my God. Could you imagine sexually assaulting somebody? You shouldn't do that, by the way. Don't imagine doing it. But could you imagine what type of monster you are to sexually assault somebody, under the influence, basically spike them, drug them, to take advantage of them sexually, and then when they confront you about it, you lie and say you don't remember who they are. You try and act like you have amnesia. You try and gaslight them and make them try and believe as if like nothing actually happened and it's all in their head. Wow. The next day, Cooper said he called Tisci, who insisted he didn't remember him, and asked him for a photo. I sent the picture and he goes, "I still don't remember you," Cooper said. I told him, "How do you not remember me? I was at your house." He goes, "Oh yeah, I remember you now. Nothing happened." I said, "I woke up naked." He said, "No, you had clothes on." That's when I knew. To be fair, I think most people, it's like similar to like when you can feel somebody looking at you, even if your back is turned to them. I would imagine that if you got sexually assaulted, there is no way that your body wouldn't tell you something happened. You have a gut feeling. You have something inside you is going to tell you something bad happened. Something occurred here. There's going to be a feeling you can't really budge. You can't convince yourself that it didn't happen. You're going to have the initial feeling going to be like, oh, something had happened. So most likely you should trust your gut in that respect. He then decided to retain a lawyer, Cooper said, adding that he kind of broke down in the aftermath of the alleged assault. Yeah, I can imagine. I have not spoken to Riccardo since. I have not heard from him, Cooper stated. Cooper's lawsuit accuses Tisci of assault battery, false imprisonment, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and violation of the New York State's Gender Motivated Violence Act. He's now seeking compensatory and punitive damages to be determined in court. Woo! That's a lot, bro. That's a lot. That is fucking deep. So I'm assuming most likely, he will end up settling out of court. I don't think there's any chance that Riccardo Tisci is going to let this go to court. No chance. He's going to let all this come out in discovery. He's going to let people, he's going to, allow more details of this case to come to light. Most likely, I'm assuming they're going to settle out of court. And I'll be curious to see what the fashion community does when that happens. Because I don't have any doubt in my mind that this happened. Based on the things I've been reading on the timeline and the whispers and the insinuations and, again, the drama around him 18 months ago, people talking about his preferences and what he likes to do when he goes out and shit, and maybe being a bit too handsy and forward. I don't doubt, if you had to ask me, hand on heart, did this happen? I don't doubt that this did happen. Now I'm curious to see what these fucking fashion motherfuckers are going to do if he does settle out of court. Because for me, settling out of court on a case like this, considering his name, considering his notoriety, considering his legacy, considering the jobs he's trying to go for, that is career suicide. And that is also, in my opinion, somewhat an admittance of guilt. So if he does decide to settle out of court, will some of these publications, will some of these fashion houses decide to like overlook him for certain jobs? Will they stop covering some of his shows? Or will they do the whole Alexander Wang shit and just pretend like it didn't happen and keep it moving? Because I still don't really get the Alexander Wang thing. Because I know he settled out of court, but I wonder how did they justify, like, how could you justify removing Ye's image from a Balenciaga runway collection on Vogue.com because you don't agree with his political views, or his views on Jews and shit, but then you're okay, displaying Alexander Wang's collection, every season, despite him basically settling out of court and admitting in a roundabout way that he did drug that kid. Like, how do you justify that? Like, and I'm not somebody that's for the whole counterculture thing personally. I'm a big believer in the fans being the people that should decide if you have a career or not. I don't think there should be like, industry-wide cancellations in terms of people taking away your ability to make money. But you should have some, there should be some lines in the sand that you can kind of draw. If somebody gets convicted of diddling, if somebody gets accused of flipping, diddling kids, diddling women, whatever it may be, all that sort of heinous shit, there should be lines in the sand you're able to draw. Be like, you know what? You can't work in this establishment again, or you can't work in industry again because, you did a pretty crazy thing. Now, if your own fans want to still support you and whatever you do independently, that's all for them. More power to you. But the idea that some people get punished for some of the things they say or do, and other people's don't, doesn't sit right with me. Especially when sometimes the crimes are the same. In this regard, if I'm not mistaken, the Alexander Wang allegation was also one guy. I think he might have went on TikTok as well. One person accused Alexander Wang of doing a madness. In this particular case, this guy is also accusing Riccardo Tisci of doing a madness. So if both people have these, it's not like a catalog of people. It's like, same thing, basically, when you look at it case for case. Why is one person going to get one treatment, the other person not going to get a treatment? Now, again, we don't know because Riccardo Tisci at the moment doesn't have a job, so who knows what's going to happen in terms of coverage. But I'm curious to see if Vogue and all those places do decide to not cover Riccardo Tisci anymore or to not promote his work, and if all these big fashion conglomerates and houses decide not to work with him, how can you kind of do that when you're okay to have Alexander Wang about? You're all right to have fucking John Galliano about all this sort of shit. Like, how? Doesn't sit right with me. Doesn't sit right with me in the slightest. But, what do I know? Big up the stream chat. What you guys saying here? Koila, the Abramovic Lady is a demon. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, true. Riccardo Tisci's got some interesting friends in it. Naomi Campbell, Marina Abramovic. He keeps some interesting company. That's for sure. What else are you saying here? Big up Pastor Roman. If John Galliano can weather the storm, anyone can. Yeah, that's, to be fair though, I don't know. I think saying some dicey things about Jews and then sexually assaulting somebody, maybe because I'm just not a believer in words of violence. So I'm gonna say, if you violate somebody in the way that Riccardo has been accused of violating somebody, I think that's a worse crime than saying what John Galliano said about Jews. Personally, It's still bad, don't get me wrong, but I think what Tisci's been accused of is kind of wild. That's kind of insane. It's kind of intense, you know. So, and he's also not, you know, he's not as gifted as, like, when you go down to, is he as gifted as a designer as a John Galliano? Probably not, you know. So I can also understand why the industry kind of turned a blind eye and was ready to forgive John Galliano quickly, because he is a bit of a unicorn in terms of a designer. So you don't want to lose a talent like that, right? It's like Hedi Slimane. If it ever came out that Hedi Slimane was, you know, diddling some of these fucking, you know, twink models that he uses, I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the fashion industry would turn a blind eye. I'm pretty sure if serious allegations came out about fucking Hedi Slimane touching young boys, no one would bat an eyelid. They would kind of pretend like it's not happening. You know, there's certain designers at a certain level, even Demna. If something came out about Demna, I think a lot of people would turn a blind eye. And I think it has a lot to say about the talent, about the money they make for their brands, sales and shit, the money they make, their shareholders, all that sort of stuff. People will turn a blind eye. That's a really unfortunate thing about this. So maybe in this case, Riccardo Tisci might suffer because he's not the same Riccardo Tisci was at Givenchy. So he might be surplus to requirements, right? He might be easier to ditch. He might be easier to kind of, you know, throw by the wayside because he's not useful to anybody. But I think if he was useful, if he was beneficial, I think a lot of these brands would be like, you know what? Let's turn a blind eye because this guy, he's a hell of a designer. You know, I think that could possibly happen. It could possibly happen. Big up Black American. I feel like what you describe is what happens. Yep, for sure. I think it's below 10%. Big up Alex Knox. The anti-Semitism that Galliano did is the most reported. He also verbally and physically assaulted people. The anti-Semitism was multiple times. The video evidence of three of them. Yeah, but like that's true. But I don't know. Maybe I'm mistaken. It's just difficult. Look at. But I don't know. I'm saying that now, and I think to myself like, look at my guy from Bottega Veneta, right? They accused what's the guy? The guy at Burberry now. I forgot his fucking name. They accused fucking Daniel Lee. Daniel Lee. The rumor was about Daniel Lee that he got booed from Bottega Veneta because he was allegedly abusive to a lot of people there too. He wasn't the most nicest guy in the world. And one particular allegation, again from that Luis Pisano guy, it depends if you believe him or not. He alleges that, or somebody told him that Daniel Lee called some girl at the Bottega Veneta studio a black something. A black, I don't know, a black cunt, black something, but basically said something derogatory to the girl in the studio. Now, if that's true, that's kind of a madness, right? But Daniel Lee got welcomed back in with open arms, you know? He didn't have a timeout, nothing. Zero. And he is not, you know, he's not as talented as John Galliano in the slightest. So, I don't know. I think there's, when it comes to words, maybe you can turn a blind eye. Maybe. Also, it probably helps as well if the victim doesn't come forward, because in that alleged account of Daniel Lee racially insulting somebody allegedly at the Bottega Veneta studio back in the day, it probably helps if you can keep the victim quiet and maybe pay them off or give them a promotion or something. You know, I'd imagine that happens in the industry a lot, which is really sad to think about it. I imagine in the fashion industry, especially nowadays with society and politics and whatever we're being at the workplace we're at, I could imagine a lot of houses, brands, whatever, deciding to kind of, you know, quietly deal with these issues internally, promote somebody, give somebody a payout, whatever it may be, to keep this sort of stuff out of the media, out of the press. And unfortunately, because the industry is so competitive and there's so little opportunities around, if you are a victim of racial abuse but somebody gives you an opportunity to kind of, hey, you're an intern here and I can give you the job in the design studio as a pattern cutter full time, here's a salary, you're going to probably take the job, you know, even though you probably should go all the way in terms of, you know, let people know what happened. I can understand if all you've dreamed about is working in industry and you now get a chance to work in industry off the back of somebody insulting you or saying something crazy about you. I can see why you'd want to make that change or take that decision, you know, take that on board as opposed to maybe airing people out. So I don't know. It's a hard one. But yeah, Koila, is anyone in fashion nice and not likely to drug and diddle you? Yeah, what you call it? Charles Jeffrey. I love Charles Jeffrey. I've met him a couple of times. I think Charles Jeffrey's a fucking really, really nice guy. But he's also Scottish, you know? Charles Jeffrey's also Scottish. I keep forgetting that. Like, whenever I think of like nice UK guys that are in fashion, I think, okay, he's a Scottish. It's really, I don't know. It's hard to find a dickhead Scots person. You know what I mean? Most Scots are fucking lovely people. So he's really nice in fashion. Who else I met that's really nice in fashion? That might be about it. Fashion Roadman in the stream chat. He's nice. He's a nice guy. He might be, again, one of the only nice ones again in media and stuff. A lot of them are kind of up their own ass, but he seems like a really cool guy. There's not a lot of them. But a lot of it, I don't blame people as well for being assholes, because I think the industry kind of enables the assholery, you know? It kind of encourages you to be a bit of a dick. It kind of encourages you to be a bit of a cunt, you know? There's a lot of like sucking up, idolatry, and crazy hero worship shit going on in the industry that kind of makes you believe that your shit don't stink and think you walk on water. So it's a bit of a weird industry in that regard. Big up, Sinners taught me about you people. Lols. Big up, Chris. Big up, Z. Yeah, the money in exchange for silence is what makes most companies do. Exactly. Black American, I think who you offend is as important at what you do. People take advantage based on the perception of power. And yes, opportunity scarcity is a reason why they get away with it. Yeah, of course, 100%. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's been a ton of things happening in the industry that we have not probably heard about, because people quietly accept other alternative resolutions, especially if it means them keeping their job or staying in the industry. Plus, there's a lot of people too, I'd imagine, who probably don't want to give themselves a bad reputation, so they go out their way to just probably keep some of those things under wraps and not report on them or not say nothing, because they want to keep their job and because those jobs in fashion are so scarce, you know? Especially if you've really worked tooth and nail. You're not a nepo baby. You don't have, you know what I mean? You kind of got your job through pure blood, sweat, and tears. The last thing you want to do is kind of go out of your way to accuse somebody, and also it had to have a negative effect on your career prospects. I understand that completely.